everyone, welcome back to another episode of Backstage Spotlight. Today we have with us the lovely, lovely Gracie.
Hello, everybody.
How
I'm
are
Gracie.
you?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you for coming. For those who aren't familiar with you, would you like to introduce yourself and explain what your journey in this career has been so far?
Yeah, okay. So I'm Gracie McGonigal. I've done kind of a number of things across stage, kind of theatre, musical theatre, bits of telly too, but most notably probably The Little Big Things and
Yes.
Crucible last year as well.
Yeah.
If anyone
Can I
can.
just say I came to see the Little Big Things and when it was at Soho Place, phenomenal. Such a good show.
Thanks, babe.
A
That's
good
kind.
show.
I
How
felt very,
was,
very lucky to be in that one.
yeah.
Really.
How was the process of that and how did you find it?
I had a great time. For me, getting that job was it really was fate because I knew little bits about it. And I was actually on another job at the time when it came around, and I saw it come up, and I was like, oh, I'm not even free for it. I'm not even free because my show finished on the 2nd of September, the Crucible that I was doing at the time. And that show was supposed to open. Their opening night was supposed to be the 2nd of September. So,
Oh,
like, anyone who's in this kind of industry knows that you've got to have a tech week in there. It's not just rehearsals. And, quite frankly, I can't be in two places at once on
yeah,
opening and closing night,
yeah.
Uh, and I spoke to my agent and I was like, is it bad if I kind of like just sort of gauge interest and see what they say? And they were like, please, please, please. And they gave me an audition day and I was like, I can't make it. So I sent in a tape. No one asked me to send in a tape. And I sent in a tape and they gave it to me. So rogue.
Really
Anyway,
great.
really was fate. And then it took a lot of maneuvering to let me do it, and everybody really, really helping out, properly helping out on both sides of Little Big Things and Crucible as well. I really thank the producers of both teams for just letting me be really cheeky and try and sort of go for my musical theatre dreams, because at
Yeah.
that point I really hadn't done like a big musical theatre show. But I loved the process. The process was great. The people were so lovely, and also working with lots of disabled people. Me as a disabled person myself, that was really exciting. That was a place I'd not been in before, so that made me very happy.
Yeah, what a wholesome environment to be in. If you don't mind me asking, so obviously you mentioned as a disabled actor, you don't have an arm, do you?
No,
So
I
how,
don't.
yes, how how has that been like navigating the industry with that? Because there must be some places that you go where it's a discriminatory environment and you don't get those opportunities just because of that. And how have you found that as it's gone along?
There's been pros and cons with it, because, and the pros being, and I stand by this, a lot of the time, from what I've observed with actors in my kind of field and my age group, and when I'm talking to friends about our experiences acting, a lot of the time it can be very hard to navigate the kind of jobs we're choosing and making sure that the jobs we're choosing are good, having a nice environment in the room, making sure the people we're working with are not like weird, trying to make sure that we're choosing jobs that represent us.
Yeah.
Um, and for me, that kind of bit is taken away a little bit because I know that people won't see me if they're not comfortable with maybe having a disabled person in the room, if they're not comfortable with any kind of inclusivity. A lot of the rooms I work in are super, super diverse,
Yeah.
super, super balanced. I've worked with the only male director I've ever worked with was Luke Shepherd on Little Big Things. He was the
Yeah.
first male director, which is crazy because there's the ratio of male directors to
I
female directors
know.
is like crazy wide. So it just means that I tend to work in very, very nice and safe environments. On the flip side, there are a lot of shows that haven't seen me, probably won't see me. A lot of dream shows that I'd love to do, and maybe I'll get there. But a lot of the shows I tend to get to do is new work, which is for
Yeah.
me lovely and where I want to be. But maybe more longer running stuff, I don't tend to get in the room for. Not
Yeah.
always. Like there are some things I do get in the room for, but some of my like the shows that really got me into musical theatre as a kid, unfortunately, I haven't been seen for. You know,
Yeah.
one of those
Yeah,
flip.
it's balancing it out, isn't it?
Yeah, but when I say pros and cons, it really are pros and cons because I tend to have a really nice time at work, which isn't always the case.
Yeah.
You know, some people find themselves in environments and they're like, oh gosh, I don't feel super safe. Whereas for me, that's kind of always the case in my experience thus
Yeah.
far. Like, how are you doing, Gracie, on your job? I'm like, yeah, I'm having a cracking time.
Yeah, that's really important.
It's important for quality of life because we put a lot on hold to do this as a job.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's so important to have that environment that you know you'll go and be comfortable in.
Yeah, for sure. And I do. That's earnestly, I tend to feel very happy and supported doing this is a job.
Great. How did it all start for you? Did you do musical theatre as a kid?
Sort of, yeah. I always liked it. Just classic like watching it on the telly and stuff. And watching I Do Anything and the Dorothy program and all of that. But I never got to do it as a kid. It just wasn't ever a kind of logistical thing I could do.
Right.
And then it was a real case of circumstance, really. I got to sixth form, and like I was choosing my options for my local sixth form, and they said we're not going to run drama, and I was like, oh, that's rubbish. Like, what am I going to do? Because I want to do it for my A levels. So I decided I'd go to Brit instead. I went to the Brit
Oh
school
yeah.
um, with a few of my friends, and I had the time of my life. I will go on about that school being such a good school till the day I die. If there are no more Brit fans, I am dead. I think it's so good. And any parents or kids that say they want to go to Brit school, they want to send their child to Brit school, I'm like, yes, do it. If they want to do this kind of thing, please send it to them because it's free. That's the one thing about Brit is that
That's
it's
so
free.
good. Yeah.
It's very accessible. And for the first time, I felt like I was in an environment which was truly, truly equal in opportunity.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my gosh, wow. When you're going to a school that is free, but specialist, it's like, oh, okay, so everyone can go.
Yeah.
There's no like
Yeah.
monetary barriers, there's no kind of postcode barriers either because it's very, very wide
Yeah.
catchment.
It's like a
Um,
no-brainer, really.
really, honestly, I had like a 2 hour commute to get there, lol. And I was in catchment. Can you believe? You
No
know what I
way.
mean? Me traveling, like I took like 2 trains and 2 buses or something to get there every day. It was ridiculous.
No
But
way.
I loved it. It was so fun. And then I did a foundation year at Mount View, but that was during lockdown. Um,
Yes.
and that was a bit demotivating because of the circumstance of
Yeah.
lockdown.
That whole time it was like a blur.
For real. And I just was like, God, this is expensive
Mm.
and it's hard being online. And
Yeah.
basically, when the degree offer came through from Mount View, which when I say it was my dream, it didn't come through right away, but it was one of those things where like I was hoping that it would come through. And by the time it did, it was quite a few months later. I was on reserve for quite a long time, and for me, work started coming up, and I was like, never mind, you know.
Yeah.
I'll just like do a bit of work. And then this offer came through and I was like, I don't know what to do. And I just kind of took the leap to do panto. It was a panto at the Lyric Hammersmith. That was my first sort of professional theatre job.
Great.
And everyone said I was crazy. Everyone was like, Gracie, there's no security. Why would you take, there's always panto. I had a couple of teachers that said there's panto every year.
Yeah.
What? And there's drama school once. And I was like, maybe I'm a fool. And then I was like, you know what? If I do this panto and I'm rubbish or like I'm in pain or I really like, you know, or there's nothing kind of on the horizon after it, I can re-audition, I can do that.
Yeah.
But luckily the ball kind of kept rolling. So I
Okay.
kind of kept going with it. Um,
Yeah.
with the whole acting thing. I'd love to do a degree. It's sad, you know, I was always very jealous of my friends at drama school, kind of in the process of it. And maybe I'll do a degree in something else. But for now, I think I'll keep cracking.
Yeah. I mean, the good thing is with degrees, you can do them at any time in your life. When you're doing something, like when you get performance opportunities like you have done, why not just dive in head first and just do those things while you've been offered them, and then if things start to slow down, you can always go back and say, hey, can I do a degree?
I think I've always had that in the back of my mind. Like I'm always kind of actively trying to learn, actively trying to keep growing from other people. I'm by no means saying like I know everything there is to know. Like I'm constantly looking around, trying to improve, feeling, and you know, especially when you haven't done a degree, it does come with a lot of imposter syndrome because you're
Yeah.
looking around like, oh my gosh, everyone's trained, everyone's been doing this a really long time, and I feel like I kind of just turned up this morning, like, ah. Um, but I've always got it in the back of my mind that I could go back and train. Um,
Okay.
and hopefully someone would have me if I if I went, because drama school auditions are no joke. Everybody,
Oh, tell me
are
about
no joke.
it. If you had advice for people auditioning currently, as I know a lot of the viewers of this podcast are auditioning, like wanting to get into the industry, wanting to get into drama schools, what would your advice be if you were to have a conversation with those people?
I would say try to be as authentically yourself as possible within the circumstance that they give you. It's very easy to try and look at a certain school and think about the type of people you see going there and go, oh, I'm going to try and be like them to appear or appeal to their side sort of ideology. And I'd say if you can try and remain as true to yourself as possible. Of course, stretch yourself. You know, if they say do a legit, do a legit. If they say do a contemporary, do a contemporary. You know, I don't mean like by being yourself, I don't mean like only singing like Aretha. If they're like, please don't, you know what I mean. But you can try and choose songs that you feel are important to you. Try and choose monologues you think speak to you, um, and try and not put on any fronts. I think it will benefit you in the long run because at the end of the day, when you're out in the industry afterwards, people hire individuals, not like random girl comes from a drama school. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like try and take what you can from drama school, build yourself up, and the bits that don't serve you, leave them.
Yeah.
You know.
It's so true. And I always say the panel are people and you are a person. They are
Mm,
looking to employ people and they want people in their cast team or in their college. They don't want like robots. And I think the misconception of drama school auditions is that, like you just said, people go and they want to fit into the stereotype of that school and
mm,
they build themselves up to what doesn't represent them. And then they get there and then they're like, oh, but I tried my best. Why was that? Why did that audition not go so well for me? And then you come back and you think, I wasn't authentically myself. I put on such a front that that wasn't a good, like an accurate representation of me. And
100%.
then once you've clicked and you've realized that, you kind of go back on it and you're like, they just want someone to come in, have a chat. How was your day? Do the material to the best of their ability, show potential, passion. And then they go and then the panel are like, oh, that person really wants to come here. They are authentically themselves at this stage.
Mm.
We could work on them for like
They
so much.
break up the day. Like a lot of the
Yeah,
time, like, people are coming in with the same kind of songs, the same kind of dress, the same everything. Like
yeah,
if there's someone who gives a little bit of themselves in the room, it's like, oh, hello. Also, like for me, the most humbling experience was when I was at Mount View and auditioning for Mount View, you know, in my brain, I was like, all these panel members, they're like these long-standing people working at the school. Like they've been working there for years on years on years. And then one of my teachers that did my final production at Mount View, um, she then worked with me on like one of my first jobs outside of drama school as an actor. And I was like, oh my gosh, all of these guys are freelancers. We're all kind of just actors taking experiences from different things. You know, a lot of the time at schools, like the people on the panel are no more actors than you are.
Yeah.
Maybe they've got a few more credits under their belt and they've got experiences to share and teach with you and have training to share
And
and teach.
opportunities. Yeah.
But in the same way, you're a uni student there, and in the same way we treat students from other industries, like those medical students, they're a young doctor, you know, and you're a performer. You're
Yeah.
already a performer. You're already there. You're maybe not like ready-made, ready to go. There's still things to learn, but let's not like put them in like a different bracket.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, at the end of the day, you could be, even if you don't book that book that show or work or go to that drama school, you could be like me and work with my like final project teacher on like a play reading like 2 months after I left, and we were there like, oh, actually you're only 3 years older than me.
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
I never, at the time I was like, oh my gosh, because I loved her, she's so good. Sarita, shout out. But like I watched her like do all her Shakespeare, and I was like, oh, she's a brilliant Shakespeare teacher. She's just a brilliant Shakespeare actor. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
That's the vibe. Anyway, such a tangent, but
Yeah.
that's my it's sorted.
Oh, great, great. And let's talk about a day in the life of a performer and how that adapts your life routine. So, for example, when you were in the Little Big Things, could you talk us through what your day consisted of and how you had to adapt to do that contract?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, okay. So the Little Big Things was the first time I'd spent, I think it's the longest time I've ever spent on a show. It was about 9 months in total.
Yes.
And normally I've been quite used to doing quite short, sharp contracts of maybe like 4 months, 5 months, and sort of bookending them. But this was quite, you know, it was quite an endeavor. Like it was quite a long contract. And it meant I was able to get into a proper routine, which is nice because you're able
Yeah.
to plan life a little bit more, which I'm not actually used to doing. It feels like I've had to put, for this industry especially, I've had to put a lot of things that I love on hold, like seeing friends,
Yes.
going out for dinners, you know, having like nice, seeing shows, you know.
Yeah.
My God, like I did 2 shows back to back last year, you know, as in with no break. And I saw no shows for about a year and a bit because of that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't know what's happening in this industry at all. Everyone's talking about Next to Normal. I'm like, sounds amazing. Wonder what it was like, you know? Like, I didn't see Totoro for so long, and everyone's like, oh my gosh, you must see it. And I'm like, I'm not going to get to see it.
Yeah.
Tell me when, because, you know, when Sunday's a day off, and I'm like, oh yeah, so many friends doing shows that I haven't been able to see. And I'm like, oh, but having a bit of structure had been great. So I kind of, on a matinee day, I'd wake up sort of like 11 o'clock.
Nice.
We love a lion.
Always.
Yeah, for real. Get to the theatre for like 12. Warm up, get hair and makeup done, which I always ask for help with my hair. I never do my, I try not to do my own hair. I get my friends to sort of help out because I'm so bad at hair. I can't do it. Maybe
Got
it's because
gorgeous curls as well.
thank you. I've washed them fresh. They're a bit flatter than
Fresh
normal.
curls this morning on a bank holiday.
For real. Treat yourself, you know what I mean?
Yeah, always.
Full treat. So I always get the girls in the dressing room to help me out with that. And then do the show, 2.5 hours. Usually try to go out for a little dinner on a matinee. I feel like it's nice
Nice.
to like go out with a friend
Treat.
or friends from the company, treat
Yeah.
yourself. Like we're in central London. A lot of our time is like trying to bring in packed lunches and save some cash money.
Oh
But
yeah.
but on a Saturday, you're in the thick of it in central London. Go on, have a curry for dinner. You may as well treat yourself, and then do the second one, get it all redone again, um, and go home. My biggest trouble with, I think, the routine, which I do love because I'm a bit of a night owl. I always kind of get really lively about like 8 p.m. at night. That's like my prime go time. If I'm not, yeah, if I'm not working in theatre, it's usually when like if you come over to my house, I'll be hoovering or cleaning or
Yeah.
like getting on with a creative task because like nighttime go time, yeah.
Yeah.
But getting home at like midnight every night is something to get used to.
Yeah.
You know? Like finishing a show at sort of 10:30, or when I was on Crucible because it's 3 hours, that was more like 11.
Mm.
Then sort of like packing up your stuff, getting out by either 11 or half 11. And then for me, it's about an hour commute home. So like I would often be getting home about midnight. And you can't just go to sleep. This is the one thing. You can't just go to sleep after you've done a show.
No.
And everyone will think I'm crazy being like up at 2 a.m., you know, like just kind of watching the telly or winding down or like reading a book or something. They're like, just go to bed. Are you not tired? I'm like, yes, I am tired, but otherwise I'll literally be in bed with my eyes open, like
Yeah. Your brain's so like buzzing from the show you've
quiet.
probably just done. Yeah.
Adrenaline hangover is a real thing. Like, if you're wondering why you're so tired the day after you've done a show, or you're so tired the day after you've done an audition or something, it's because it's so like when you get yourself to that state of like nerves and adrenaline, and when you let all of that in your body, you crash so dramatically afterwards.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been taking this time, not in a contract, try and fill it with like dinners out, seeing my partner, seeing friends,
Nice.
you know,
Yeah.
doing all that bit stuff in concentration.
Yeah. So that you kind of compensate when you're doing a show.
Yeah, for real.
Yeah.
Because you don't get to do a lot of it. It is one of the sad downsides is when I've got friends who don't do this job will message me and be like, hey babe, you free to come out? And I'm like, no, I'm not free. I'm never free. Oh, you know, and it's hard because I can't remember the last time. Like, I did miss a lot of the like crucial growing up. I think I've been clubbing like twice in my whole life. You know, I had like 2 minutes when we were coming out of lockdown, and then it was like, oh, it's go time to work.
Yeah, sure, because having done your training in lockdown as well, I like that's a crucial part of
Mm,
development for
mm.
like our generation.
Yeah, for real. You
So,
know, that bit, where especially as like a UK girl, like
yeah.
going out, getting really drunk, you know, getting a bit messy. I just never got to do it really. Never
Yeah.
really,
How was
yeah.
your time in lockdown? How did you use that time?
Yeah, so you know, apart from getting a bit depressed, like we all did, you know what I mean? So let's be self-aware. Um,
So
other than that,
true.
I had a really nice time. It was nice to spend some good quality time with my mum. Um, but I did take a lot of time to train to try and like work on my tondis in the kitchen and do
Yeah.
my ballet technique.
Yeah.
It was no joke, but it meant I got to do quite a lot of like self-tape practice.
Mm-hmm.
You know, try to work on my own skills. I felt like that was a really nice
Yeah.
time to do that, to like sing lots,
Yeah.
um, you know, do technique in the home. I really discovered my love of reading that year, which I think is really
Nice.
I've taken with me, and I
Yeah.
still do loads. Which I probably get through about 50 books a year of like varying
Wow.
degrees of things. So it could be like a Shakespeare play, or it could be like a big old like War and Peace mammoth, or it could
Yeah.
be just like a Dolly Alderton like gorgeous little, you know, London centric kind of girly pop book. You know, I'm
Yeah.
really not snobby about it, but I found in lockdown trying to develop that hobby of making sure I was trying to actively read.
Yeah, really good for your brain as well.
Keep, yeah, your brain going. And also, like, I'm a big believer with what actors do, which is I believe in input to output creatively. So like for me, I've got to consume other people's creativity. I've got to consume books, I've got to consume telly, I've got to consume, for me it's art galleries. I love going to an art gallery. But in order to like inspire the acting and like the creativity with musical theatre, because when your passion becomes your job, it
You
can't
have
just be
yeah, you have to get like a hobby as well.
you really do. You have to get a hobby. I've always been quite lucky that I love painting. I love drawing. Like that's one of my like outside of theatre hobbies that I do.
Yeah,
It's kind
nice.
of for me. But doing stuff like that, I feel always helps me um, with my acting on Crucible. If you saw any photos of the girls backstage, um, I kind of started a bit of a book club, and
No.
well, because we spent a lot, like Act One, all the girls were on stage, but Act Two, we weren't on stage at all. So
Yes.
we'd all just like
Book
sit.
time.
Yeah, for real. We'd all sit in our corridors with like our like, little pink dresses on.
Oh.
Like with our little books. Sometimes we'd all read the same play or something. But it was really fun. I think of that loads actually when I think back to that project. It was really
Yeah,
fun.
that's nice. Reading
Yeah.
is great, and there's just so many books and books about developing yourself, and then just books about other people's stories, and
Mm.
then like completely fiction, completely non-fiction. Like you just can get lost in, and it's almost like never ending. Like there's always a book to read.
Always a book to read, and it's quite a scary experience that you'll never get through them all. You know what I mean? Even it's something like the stat is like the amount of books that get published in a year, a person wouldn't be able to read in a lifetime.
Yeah.
Time, which is like quite a scary kind of.
Yeah, it's like, but what if you miss such a good one?
Yeah, like I wanna consume all the stories and get excited about different plays and get, especially when I didn't do, I'd say like formal actor training, like I was a musical theatre girly. I always took a lot of enjoyment from like reading straight plays and stuff and kind of thinking about, trying to teach myself a bit of actor training and doing a bit of text work um on some straight plays, because I think that can always be useful.
Yeah, yeah, of course.
Try and transfer that training as well. Don't forget musical theatre, guys. You've got to do it. Got to do it. Take some passion in the text bit too, because I always forgot that at
Yeah.
school when I was focusing on the singing, and
Yeah. Easy to forget, easy to forget.
um,
So what's on the horizon for you? What would you like to do in the future as like a dream job?
oh, that's a really hard question. What would I like to do? I think I'd like to do my first like long running show. I
Yeah.
think I'd like to do like a year's West End contract in one of the older like Mez, or like, you know, or Mincemeat, or like something that just was like long and I felt like I could really like make it mine. I'd like to do that because I feel like I haven't been able to do that yet. As a contrast to some of the things I've been up to. Oh god, slight other tangent, but like I love working in new musical theatre, on new theatre. But when you're already working on a job, it's really hard to workshop new stuff. And if
Yeah.
you're not there at workshop stage, it's really hard to like enter a job further down the line.
A lot happens in those workshop weeks.
Yeah, and sometimes, for example, my next job, it's a show called Fangirls. It's going to the Lyric Hammersmith this summer. It's a gorgeous show. I love it so much. It's so good. It's an Australian show that did amazing at the Sydney Opera House, like 2-3 years ago, and it's about Harry Styles or like a guy called Harry from a band called True Connection, One Direction, and about like these fans and these young girls kind of growing up and being like underestimated, basically. They think, you know, suddenly like young girls can be quite dangerous if they put their minds to something. I think that's the thing. I think the show's so good. But I did that workshop 2 years ago now. That
Wow.
was, you know, two and a bit years ago. I was workshopping that, you know, and I was like, I must have been like what, like 19 when I was doing that. Kind of hoping that one day it would come to fruition. And here we are. But like in the last couple of years, like I don't think I've done many workshops. So I'm like, I hope I've still got jobs in 2 years' time. You know what I mean? It's like, you know, 2 years ago I wasn't working so much in theatre, so I had time to kind of like
Do
get
that.
on workshops, do bits of that. But I'm very excited for that job to come and finally get to do it.
Yeah, that sounds great. It's going to be really good.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. I think it'd be really, really fun. I don't know. For me, my big dream on the horizon is, I think, just to keep subverting expectation with, like, if I've done a couple of musicals in a row, I want to do a play.
Yeah.
Like, I want to, I don't want people to think I'm one thing.
Yes.
You know, like, I love being a musical theatre girl. I love it. I love it with my whole soul. Watching a good musical is still like one of the best things a person can do. But I also have so much love for plays and telly and like comedy and magic. Like I want to, you know, I love being attached to different shows. You know, if I've done a really like important play, I want to do a family show.
Yeah.
You know? Because
Constantly switching it up so that keeps everything fresh and exciting as well.
yeah, because you know we're really bad in this industry for thinking people can only do their last job.
Yeah, that's so
So bad
true.
for it. Like, you know, when you think of like one of the greats in musical theatre, and then you say that they're going to be in the next production of like To Kill a Mockingbird, and you're like, why
Yeah.
would they do that? And you're like, oh, because they're a good actor
Yeah.
and they have transferable skills.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know, for me to like, my dream is to keep being inspired by stuff and keep doing different jobs,
Nice.
you know, and building up like a kind of weird array of jobs and where people don't really know what I'm going to do next.
Yeah.
That would be my dream.
Yeah, I'm sure that, you know, that will definitely happen.
Hope so. I want to do another play. It's been ages since I've done a play. I'd like to do one, I think.
Nice.
I don't know what it would be, but something. I don't know.
You'll do it, I'm sure. You'll definitely do it.
Hopefully.
One day.
I'll be in 222, just you wait.
Wait, who's going to be like Stacey Dooley? That's
Mental.
so rogue.
Love it. Love her. Honestly, come on 222. Like they are masters of getting bums on seats, and you know what? We need that.
Yeah.
We need
Cheryl
that.
Cole, Stacey Dooley, get everyone in.
What are people going to break the lockdown rules for to come and see the show? What are people? How are people going to pile into a theatre when they're afraid of other people? I know, seeing Lily Allen. You know what I mean? Love it. I'm so into it. Like we have to invest in our industry. You know?
Oh, it's brilliant.
Love it. Watch me, 222.
You heard it here first.
I don't think I'll be in 222. I'm not in it yet, guys, but manifest one day.
Oh, hilarious. And the last thing I always ask my podcast guests is who would you nominate to come onto my podcast to impart their knowledge of their career and time in the industry? And I'll reach out to them and try and get them on.
Oh, I don't know.
It can be someone you know, it can be someone you've worked with, it can be a creative, a performer, TV, on stage.
I would say Amy Trigg is somebody that
Yes.
you should interview.
Yes.
She has many, many a story. She's also got this crazy large career. Like, this lady has been grafting for so long. Like, I was watching Mamma Mia 2 the other day. She's just in it. She's just in Mamma Mia 2. She's so many times I'll just like watch something on the telly. Oh, there's Amy Trigg, and she's such a humble queen as well. And she's just won the Olivier for Best
She's
Supporting
fantastic.
Actress.
Yeah.
I had the privilege of working with her on The Little Big Things.
Yeah.
And I'm very excited to see what she does next.
Yeah.
Like,
She's one to watch.
she's definitely one to watch, because winning an Olivier doesn't automatically mean like these jobs come lining up. But like,
The graft is real.
the graft is real. Like, it really is real. So she, I think, would be someone who would be very exciting to interview about
Sure.
her experiences.
Yeah, we'll definitely try and get her on. Listen, Gracie, I have had the best time talking to you, and I hope that everyone listening has enjoyed it.
Thank you for having me on. I feel
Thank
such a
you.
rambler,
It's been great.
but anyway.
No, honestly, the rambling, I sometimes I get people on the podcast and I ask a question and the reply is like a sentence, and I'm like, it's a podcast. Just speak what?
Keep chatting, everybody. Keep going.
Keep chatting. Well, listen, everybody listening, watching, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music, hope you've enjoyed, and we'll see you next week. Thank you so much, Gracie.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.